Lunchtime Live on News Talk.
Brought to you by Avant Money. Think you're getting the best value from your bank? Think again.
Well, it was a bit much for me, Father. Feck this and feck that.
Yes, Mrs. Doyle.
You big hairy arse, you big fecker. Fierce stuff. And of course, the F word, Father. The bad F word. Worse than feck. You know the one I mean?
Yes, I do, Mrs. Doyle.
F you. F your effing wife. Oh, I don't know why they have to use language like that. I stick this effing pitchfork up your hole. Oh, that was another one. Oh, yes.
Absolutely brilliant. There's a great piece in the Irish Times today about why here in Ireland we are obsessed with cursing. And Danny O'Brien is, of course, a comedian. He's with us here on Lunchtime Live today. Danny, do you think, are they right? Do we love cursing here in Ireland?
Andrea, we absolutely love it. Like, listen, it is as part of our culture as Guinness and trad music. It's in us, you know what I mean? It's kind of our USP abroad as well. And I think it's the reason a lot of tourists come here as well, is because they come here and let loose and go for it, you know?
Why is it though? Like, why do we use it so frequently? And sorry, I say that, Danny, I should say, you know, hands up. I curse an awful lot. I curse far too frequently. I actually find it, you know, I nearly enjoy it from time to time, which is probably terrible, like, because people give out to me for it.
Well, listen, meet your brother. I'm delighted you said that, to be honest with you, because I swear a lot in my shows, and I don't intend to do it, but when you're kind of getting excited as well, like, we're natural storytellers in Ireland, like all of us are, and we love telling stories, and I always find that swearing, like, not gratuitous swearing for the sake of it, but I think it's an enhancement of a story or a point, you know what I mean?
Listen, my whole thing about cursing from time to time, and I don't do it to be funny or, you know, it's not for effect, but I actually find it. There are times when you're telling a story or you're having a good rant about somebody, and it's kind of a little bit therapeutic.
100%. You're kind of exercising your demons almost, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, when's the last time someone annoyed you and you said, that person was an annoying person?
Probably about 20 minutes ago, but anyway.
But you definitely didn't say that, and if you did, you wouldn't feel any better. You wouldn't get anything off your chest, you know? Is
there a sense of therapy to it, though?
Yeah, I think there is. Like, I think it's all, you know, it's good for all of us to vent and talk about our problems, and, you know, much as we bottle up all of our stuff here in Ireland, I think that's one of the ways that we do actually kind of communicate is through the medium of swearing. It's kind of almost like a pressure valve, I think, for a lot of people.
I'd love to chat to people as well, Danny, today here listening to us who, you know, really just think there's no place for cursing in Irish society. They really dislike it. 1890 453 106 if you find yourself in that category. As a comedian, do you try to include curse words, swears within your piece?
It's certainly not intentional, but it definitely creeps in and tests without a shadow of a doubt. And I have a kind of a filter that I have to put on. Obviously, like now I'm on radio, or when I do telly, I've done TV and radio interviews for years. You can't swear. You can't swear with some, you know, quite uptight corporate gigs. You can't swear during them. I also do school workshops all over Ireland for secondary school students, so I can't swear during those at all. So you do have to be able to switch it off, and I think that goes for everybody, you know. Like, you don't want to be swearing in front of kids or young kids, or then getting the blame for teaching them swear words. You don't need that on your conscience. So I think swear away, but we have the ability and the capacity to be able to switch it off when you're supposed to and stay professional, you know.
And when you're on stage, Danny, in front of an audience, is there a visible reaction when you swear or curse?
100%, particularly on a Saturday night. People have been working all week, you know, they want to hear something different. And that's the whole genesis of comedy. Like, people go there because they want to hear something that they haven't thought of, or they want to hear a unique view on something. And they want to let loose a bit, you know, they don't mind hearing people swearing, you know. I mean, if you're upset by people swearing, then comedy clubs are absolutely the last place in the world you should go, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Are there certain words that are just a no-go? Maybe we don't need to say them necessarily, but
yeah, I know what you're referring to, and it's funny because those words in particular are thrown around in Australia, New Zealand, England, even, you know, all over the UK as well. Like, we're not alone in this. Like, you know, the Brits certainly give it a go. Australia is probably the most swear-heavy place I've ever been to, and the worst word that we would use here in Ireland is a term of endearment in both Australia and New Zealand. I have friends and family there. It's often bestowed as the highest compliment, which I always find hilarious.
So the Aussies are worse than us?
Absolutely. If they, in New Zealand in particular, to be called a good and then insert the C word afterwards in New Zealand is probably the nicest thing someone could say to you in New Zealand. Like, you're like, oh God, thanks so much. And Scotland, for that matter. Yeah,
Mary has got in touch with us here on the text line, and she says, I hate cursing unless in certain situations. You crash into something goes wrong, but not constantly like a lot of people nowadays do. It seems to be just part of the lingo and sentences. Never mind it when people are angry. Has Mary a point there, Danny?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, you know, I try and I wouldn't swear in front of my granny, and sometimes I do let it slip. But similarly, sometimes she lets it slip. So, you know, you got to be conscious and be respectful to all the Marys out there. And but even they swear the odd time. You know, I think there's enough problems going on in the world at the moment. Like, swearing certainly isn't on my worry list of things that I have to stress about, you know.
The point that Mary made, and I wanted to ask you about that, like, is it just something that's kind of accepted now in Irish society? Do we use swear words more frequently now?
I think we do, yeah. Maybe it's kind of with like the rise of social media. People are more confident to kind of speak now, I think, in general, you know. And then the more we communicate, the more we talk, the more we swear. And I just think that's kind of the natural progression of swearing.
1890 453 106 if you want to get in touch with us here on Lunchtime Live today. I just wonder, what are the situations or the scenarios where, you know, cursing and swear words are not acceptable? Danny, before I let you go though, obviously you had the big announcement yesterday in terms of returns of gigs and all of that kind of stuff. How are you feeling? Like, when are you back?
I haven't been off my laptop all morning, to be honest with you. I was gigging a Taste of Dublin last night, and I've just been booking flights and trains and clubs and tour shows, and it's a beautiful mess at the moment as everyone's trying to fill in dates left, right, centre, and schedules are all over the place. But I think it's great news. I'm delighted that we can all start moving forward again. And I definitely, to any of your listeners, I would say now is the time to support live entertainment, especially when it's at 60% capacity, because we really need to fill those 60%. You know what I mean? You're nearly at half the amount that you were before. So this is the window between now and October 22nd. Get out there, see your band, see plays, see comedy, see everything. Because we really need to get the ball rolling again, and the whole industry needs to get back in its feet.
Well, I'm happy to give you a plug here. Have you any gigs coming up that people?
I do. I'm actually away. I'm out of the country. I'm jumping over the water again. I didn't know that this announcement was going to be in September, but I am doing 4 shows in November. I'm going to be in Dolan's in Limerick on the 11th of November, and then I'm going to be in Castlebar in the Linen Hall Theatre on the 12th of November as well, and I have a ton of club work in between then as well, all over Dublin.
Good stuff. Comedian Danny O'Brien. This listener on the News Talk text line says, I hate swearing and cursing. It literally hurts my ears and makes me feel bad. None of my kids swear, and I have a huge problem with it. Strong language is for weak people. That's what I tell them. Anne is on the line from Lucan, and you have an experience when it comes to cursing.
Yeah, well, now I have to say, like, I do have the odd swear word myself, but my little fella, Jesus, 23 now, we watched Friday Ted a lot, so among his first words were arse, girls and feck, like, you know, so not that, like, it's not the other F word.
Yeah.
But sadly, I used to mind a neighbour's child as well the odd time, and of course she picked it up, so they were wondering where she was getting it from, because I presume they watch Father Ted, but she probably wasn't around, like, you know.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
Like, I know, I don't like to hear, sadly, the C word. I just don't like that. But I think it's an Irish and particularly an English trait using swear words. Like, my mother-in-law Dresser would very seldom use a swear word, but if she did, we knew we were in trouble.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I know, yeah.
Because she would very rarely use them. Whereas I had an uncle that nearly every second word out of him would have been one, you know.
Yeah.
Well, I called him uncle, he was a friend. But, like, sometimes when you hear young girls saying it, if you're sitting on a bus or a train or something, it doesn't sound nice.
Well,
but,
it's funny you say that.
It's just a thing we say.
Yeah, it's funny, Anne, you say that, because I have a text in here from Ronan in Galway, and he makes that very same point. He says swearing is ugly, especially for girls and women. Why is it different for women than men?
Especially if they're using an awful lot of really the bad words, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because it's nearly nearly every second or third word, like what they're saying, and it just does look bad. You know, I mean, I've often heard it myself, and I kind of feel like, God, am I like that now? Do I talk like that? And I know when I'm talking with friends, and even now when I go to work now in a while, I know that there's sometimes we kind of just say it in conversation, like, and you're kind of saying, is that what I needed to say? I think it's just something a lot of us just say, like.
Well, I find it slips out.
Know. Well, it does slip out a lot of the time, and of course, you bang your hand or you hold something, it comes out, like, you know. I can remember being very frustrated when I was pregnant on one of my children, and it was making their communion, and it was really hot. And I remember going to see my mum at the day of the communion, and I must have said something like, oh, I'm effing wherever it is, you know. And my mother looked at me because I used a bad F word, and she was saying, I don't want to say it. Now, if I'd have been small, she'd told me to go and wash my mouth out with soap, like, but I was just so stressed because I was about 8 months pregnant and with the heat, and after being going around visiting people as you did then, you know, you didn't have a big party. I was just wrecked, and she was really shocked that I said it.
That you'd said it.
But, I never said that in front of her again.
I know, yeah. So parents have an ability to do that, don't they? Let me bring in Rachel as well. Rachel, you think there's no need to curse?
None at all, no. Brendan Grace was the funniest comedian ever, and he never swore.
And how do you feel when you hear people cursing?
Oh, I don't like it. It's not for me at all. I just don't even find it funny. In a joke. A joke could be a joke without swearing.
Yeah.
And I think Brendan Grace was a perfect example of that. He never swore, and he was the funniest man ever.
And would you make a conscious effort, Rachel, not to curse or swear? Like, do you ever let one slip out?
Well, maybe. No, not really. It's not. No, I don't like swear words at all. There's no need for them. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to have to make a harder effort, so then to...
Okay.
Rachel, thanks a million for getting in touch with us. 1890 453 106. Anne and Lucan, Rachel and comedian Danny O'Brien, thanks a million for joining us on the programme today. Most of the messages coming in actually here today on 53106 about this issue, all people saying that they don't like to hear women or girls cursing and swearing. I don't know why it's any different for men or women, but sure, anyway, look, we'll come back to that a bit later.
Lunchtime Live on News Talk.
Brought to you by Avant Money. Think you're getting the best value from your bank? Think again.